Welcome back to Al Chapo Sports, everyone's least favorite sports show where we do the thinking so you don't have to. Today we're getting into Power-5 for 5. Let's just get on into it. This is week, what is it even? 7, 8, something like that. But let's get right on into it. Starting with the Pac-12, we're going to go quick through these. UCLA, they got a win over Colorado. Number 4, USC, they got a win over California. Number 3, we've got Utah, who lost to Oregon. Oregon at number 2, who beat Utah. And Washington at number 1, who beat Stanford. Washington is the only one of this group that is undefeated, the only one that has a hope of making the playoff. And Oregon's right there behind them. They're absolutely going to a New Year's 6 bowl. They beat Utah. Utah, who's a solid team all around. They're just not as good as Oregon. I also see Utah going into a New Year's 6 bowl. USC is not who we thought they were at the beginning of this season, but even so, they're still a pretty solid team. Dropping from the Pac-12 this week was Oregon State. Let's move on now. We can get cooperation to the ACC. ACC, same 5 teams, reshuffled the order a little bit. So, number 5, we've got Miami. Miami got a win over Virginia. Not a real great team to beat, but it is a conference win. So, kudos to you, Miami, on that. Number 4, we've got Duke, who lost to Louisville. They got absolutely creamed by Louisville. So, as good of a team as Duke is, they're obviously not that team. They're sitting at number 4. Number 3, UNC. UNC lost this weekend to Georgia Tech. Solid team. Tough loss for them. They're good, but they're not great. Maybe a little overhyped through this season was UNC. Number 2, Louisville. Louisville beat Duke, a ranked team, a ranked win, a conference win, and they absolutely creamed them, absolutely shut them out. So Louisville is looking very strong, and you could absolutely make the argument that Louisville should be number 1, but in number 1 I have Florida State, who got a victory over Wake Forest. Stay undefeated. Florida State looks like the most likely playoff contender here, so that they have yet to be shaken from the top of this list. No one dropped from ACC this week. Moving on to the Big 12. Big 12, we've got Oklahoma State, who got a win over Cincinnati. Oklahoma State has been making a very quiet rise back to the top of this conference, back to that top 5 contention. They started out kind of rough, kind of lost a lot of momentum early, but have been building it back up slowly. So, kudos to you, Oklahoma State. We'll see just how far you can go. Number 4, we've got Kansas State, who got a win over Houston. If I can read my own writing, I think that's Houston, yes. Kansas State, ranked team. They've been solid all year. Nothing bad you can really say about them. They're good, but they're not the cream of a crop. They could be. We'll see. We will see. They play Texas this weekend. A win over Texas would certainly put them in the top 3 of this list. But anyway, moving on to number 3, 2, and 1. Now, this is where it gets weird, because these teams have all done a round robin of beating each other. Texas has beaten Kansas, Kansas has beaten Oklahoma, and Oklahoma has beaten Texas. So, with that in mind, it's impossible for me to definitively say one is better than the other. So, how I'm going to determine the rankings for 3, 2, and 1 is by how successful I think they would be in the playoffs. So, starting at number 3, we've got Kansas. They got a victory over Oklahoma, who was previously the number 1 in this list, previously undefeated. Hell of a win for Kansas. This is the best. That Kansas program has to be extremely proud right now. This is the best they have ever been in my lifetime. Good looking on you, Kansas. Let's see what you can do. Number 2, Oklahoma. Like I said, they lost to Kansas. Now, it's weird ranking Oklahoma over the team that just beat them, but I think Oklahoma could certainly make the argument that they are better than their performance last week. So that's what has them here. And Texas, they got a win over BYU. BYU's been the gatekeeper of this conference. If you beat BYU, you're good. If you don't, you suck. Texas, only one loss on their record. They could still very conceivably make the playoff. And I just think they would have the best shot of doing so between them, OU, and Kansas. Dropping from rankings this week was BYU. Moving on then to the Big Ten. A lot of buys in the Big Ten, so we're just going to go through this even faster than normal. Number 5, Iowa, bye. Number 4, Rutgers, bye. Number 3, Penn State. Penn State got a win over Indiana, one of the worst teams in the conference, but it is a conference win. Nonetheless, their only loss on their record is to Ohio State, I think. Yes, I'm pretty sure that's correct. Only losses to Ohio State, who is a hell of a team. So Penn State looking pretty at 3. Moving on to number 2, Ohio State. They got a win over Wisconsin. Wisconsin's a pretty solid team all around. Good win for Ohio State. They are still undefeated. So you could absolutely make the argument that they should be number 1. But number 1 for right now is Michigan, also undefeated, and they are on a bye. It will be so much fun to see how things play out when Michigan and Ohio State play each other, assuming they both stay undefeated. Till then, no one dropped from the Big Ten this week. Moving on, finally, to the SEC. Number 5, Missouri, bye. Number 4, LSU, bye. Number 3, Ole Miss. Ole Miss just got a victory over Vanderbilt. One of the worst teams in the SEC, let's be real. But a victory is a victory. I think Ole Miss only has 1 loss on their record. They are looking great. They're playing great. Their only loss was to Alabama, I believe. There's very good chance that Ole Miss will make a New Year's Six Bowl. Moving on to number 2, Alabama, bye. And number 1, Georgia. Georgia beat Florida this week. They are still undefeated, still reigning, defending national champions. So it's hard to shake Georgia from that top spot until someone beats them. So that's it. No one dropped from the SEC this week. That's my ranking, guys. Tell me down below who you think the 5 best teams in each 5 Power-5 conference is. Comment all that down below. Like this video. Subscribe for more content. I will see you guys next time.